Church, what a great day to be in church. Would you guys stand? We're going to sing together. Come on, help us out. This is the day that you have made. Whatever comes, I won't complain. For all my hope is in your name, and
seat for a moment.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Believers Church. My name is Karen, and it's time for the rundown. Whether you're a first-time guest joining us via live stream or you are here on campus at Hub 757, I'm so glad you're here. I want to invite each of you to fill out a communication card. You'll find one inside the program or on the Believers app. If you are a guest with us today, please know that sharing your information is a completely safe thing to do. You won't be added to any lists, and there won't be any unexpected visitors showing up at your home. If you provide your mailing address, you'll receive a thank you note and a small gift in your mailbox this week. Guests on campus, please stop by that blue tent in the Commons before you leave to pick up a free book and some information about Believers. Did you know that you can do good just by checking in on Facebook and Instagram? This month we are working with Reach by Causley and Haiti Partners, and for every 10 check-ins at Believers Church, you will help provide a day of school to a child in Haiti. You can add the hashtag #SchoolForKids when you check in. For more information about this month's charity partner, check out HaitiPartners.org. Are you ready to take the plunge? On September 22nd, we will be celebrating baptism with individuals that have made a commitment to follow Christ. If you have committed your life to Christ and have not yet been baptized, we would love to celebrate with you. You can sign up for baptism by checking the appropriate box on the back of the communication card. If church membership is what you're looking for, you've come to the right place. Every Christ follower is called to belong to the local church. Through our Be Committed class, you will learn what it means to belong to Believers Church. The next Be Committed class will be held on Monday, September 9th. If you're interested in attending, you can sign up by visiting believerschurch.org and clicking on the Events tab, or you can check the appropriate box on the back of the communication card. Today, we are starting a new series called Back on Track. It's going to be a great series if you need to get back into a routine. So what's your morning routine look like? Are you starting your day the right way by spending time alone with God? The way in which you start your morning sets the tone for the rest of your day. Today, we will learn how we can get back on track with a healthy morning routine. But first, let's stand and continue in a time of worship.
Calling and of destiny.
just gone through the motions. I'm sorry when I just sang another song. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. And I'm sorry when I've come with my agenda. I'm sorry when I forgot that you're enough. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. I'm caught up in your presence, and I just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment, and I never wanna leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessings, 'cause Jesus, you don't owe me anything, more than anything nothing else, and nothing else, nothing else will do. Oh, I just want you, and nothing else, no, and nothing else, nothing else will do. Oh, I just want you, and nothing else, and nothing else, Jesus, nothing else will do. Oh, I just want you, and nothing else, and nothing else, nothing else will do. Oh, I just want you, and nothing else, no, and nothing else, Jesus, nothing else will do. I just want you, and nothing else, and nothing else, nothing else will do. Oh, I just want you, and nothing else, and nothing else, nothing else will do. Just to be in your presence, nothing else, and nothing else, Jesus. Oh, we rest in your presence, Jesus, 'cause nothing else. Oh, we rest in your presence. Throne you, and nothing else, and nothing else, nothing else will do. Oh, I just want you, and nothing else, and nothing else, Jesus, nothing else will do. Oh, I just want you, and nothing else, and nothing else, nothing else will do. I just want you, and nothing else, no, and nothing else, nothing else will do. I just want you, and nothing else, and nothing else, Jesus, nothing else will do. I just want you, and nothing else, nothing else, nothing else will do. I just want you, nothing else, nothing else, Jesus, nothing else will do. I just want you, nothing else, nothing else, nothing else will do. Would you guys pray with me? Father God, God, we just long for that this morning. Whether we've been following you for many, many years, or this is just our first week, God, those words just sit so strong in my heart, that we don't bring you anything but our praise. So God, we put our agendas aside ideas of what church is supposed to look like. And God, we just focus on you, because nothing else matters, and certainly nothing else will do. So God, I pray that the amount of times that we can sing that over and over again, God, we sing it just to get it stuck in our brains that nothing else will do. Jesus, you're the only one. So those with heavy hearts, with questions, with stress, God, I pray this morning they just rest in that. God, you're here and you're walking beside us in all of this. We love you, we thank you. In your name I pray. Amen. You may be seated.
Well, hey, Believers Church, good morning. Welcome to September. I guess it was last week too, but I wasn't here. Many of you were not here either. My name is Jamie. I am one of the pastors here, and I'm so glad that you're joining us, whether you're doing that live right here in northern Suffolk or you are joining our live online campus. We're glad that you're here. And by the way, if you are new here, if you started attending maybe over the summer, or maybe you've been attending off and on, but it's been kind of sporadic, and you would say, I'm still kind of new, I'm not really plugged in, I would love to have the opportunity to connect with you. So next Sunday, the 15th, after the 11 o'clock service, we're going to host a luncheon. And during this luncheon, the only agenda that we really have is that I get a chance to meet you, connect with you, and share with you just a couple of things that I believe we as a church have for you. Because we don't really want anything from you, but we do have some things for you. And my wife is going to be there. A couple other key staff members are going to be there, and we would love the chance to connect with you. However, there is one catch. You must register for the luncheon. It's completely free. It's pizza and salad. It's for your entire family. But there's limited space, and it's limited simply because it's got to be a small enough group that we can actually meet each other and talk to one another. So if you would like to attend this luncheon, you can sign up and register through the Believers Church app under events, or you can go to the Believers Church website and go to the Connect tab, and you'll see a registration form for that free luncheon. That's next week. Hope I get a chance to see you there. Is it safe to say that summer's over? I know. I mean, officially, it's not over until the 23rd. So those of you who just want to cling to summer, you can do that. But if you're a student or an educator, summer's over, right? It ended when classes began. That's when it ended. You can't say, you can claim that there's still summer, but you're getting up and going to school, so it's not. So I love summer. Summer, I love the warmth of it. I love that the sun's not setting at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I love that it wrecks my routine because I can get so regimented. I'm kind of like the guy in the video. Every day just kind of cranks the same after a while. And so just kind of wrecking my routine for a while is kind of fun. It's when I travel. That's when most of you take vacations because your kids don't have their routines either. So summer's just a great time. But wrecking routines, while it can be fun for a little while, some of our routines actually help us to remain healthy in a lot of ways. So routines actually can be good. So this summer I traveled quite a bit, and there were a lot of routines that I have that help me that kind of got lost over the summer. Like I'm pretty good with my exercise regimen, except this summer it was almost non-existent. My wife, Bonnie, she's super health conscious. If it weren't for her, I would be as big as a house, and I might not even be alive still, because McDonald's would probably be my friend. But she's pretty healthy, and so therefore I'm pretty healthy, and I watch what I eat. This summer, I'm not even joking. I think I ate out every single meal for about 8 weeks, and even I didn't go crazy, but I know eating out, there's more fat, there's more calories, there's more salt. It's just not. My blood pressure was really high when I got back. It's just, those routines are kind of good for me, and I kind of missed them. And that's what happens with routines. The good ones, when we lose them, it's easy to get sidetracked. It's easy to get off track. So I'm kind of looking forward to the fall and getting back on track with my routines, with my schedules, with those things that help me. And I think if I were to guess, I'd say you're probably in a similar situation. It's time for you to get back on track. In the school world, in the academic world, there's been talk, and I think this talk has been going on since I was a kid, about moving schools to an all year round schedule. If you're a teacher, you hate the sounds of that. Where we lived in France, our kids were on an all year round schedule. We actually loved it. There was more breaks scattered out throughout the year. It was really good. But the reason that this is a constant conversation is because the research shows that with an extended summer break, like what we practice around here, there is this phenomenon in our students that can be called the brain drain. And what the brain drain is over the course of the summer, when you're not thinking academically, you're not reading, you're not solving math problems, you're not doing those kinds of things, you actually lose ground academically. And so the start of the new year, which we're 3 days in, because most of you didn't have school on Friday, but 3 days in, you probably haven't learned anything new yet, because it's all review. Now, it may seem new to you because your brain drained over the summer, but it's not new. And they're gonna spend quite a bit of time getting you caught back up. And so the reason that they talk about a year-round schedule is it's more productive. And this makes sense. If you don't use it, you lose it. And that's true academically, but it's true in other areas as well. It's true physically, it's true financially, it's true spiritually. If you get off track, you can't usually just step right back in where you were. It takes a little bit of wind up to get to the place where you used to be before you took that break. I'll give you just a snapshot of my summer when it comes to spiritual routines. Something that happened to me, I was going to be on this long motorcycle trip, and I was going cross country, and I knew I was going to be in a lot of places that were kind of remote and that I wouldn't have access to like internet kind of stuff. So I use YouVersion. How many of you use YouVersion for your kind of first 15? Yeah. So I do. I use it almost exclusively for that time, that first 15 minutes where, I connected with God through prayer and reading the Bible. Well, when you open up the YouVersion app, there's a number that I probably shouldn't pay that close attention to, but I always pay really close attention to it. And it's a streak number. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it tells you how many days in a row you've been active in the YouVersion app. And then there's a second number, which is how many weeks in this calendar year you have had perfect attendance, okay? So it tracks just this calendar year. And so these two numbers, I kind of always keep an eye on it. And before I left on my trip, I was getting kind of worried because I was thinking, I'm going to be in places where I can't open up the YouVersion app. And I was actually getting kind of proud of my streak. which is kind of counterproductive when it comes to spiritual development, because pride kind of is the enemy of spiritual maturity. And yet I was looking at the numbers and I was like, man, I've been perfect in 2019, and my daily streak was up over 560. Yeah, thanks for that, because I was feeling super proud about this thing, and I'm worried about my trip, not because I might disconnect from God during this time. I'm worried that my streak is going to get broken, right? That's the thing that I'm worried about. And so, you believe it or not, all 28 days that I was on the road, I was in places that I could access the app. And so I maintained my streak for this 28-day trip. Thank you for the golf applause. So we get back, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm like, holy cow, this streak is going to go to thousands probably. This is going to be amazing. And the next day, the day we get back, I slept in a little bit, and then my buddy Ray, who was staying at my house, I got up to kind of see him off, and I prayed over him before he left, and then he left to go back to North Carolina. And I went about my day. And then the next morning, I open up my YouVersion app, and it says streak 1 that day. The streak was gone. I was like, how did I go all the way across the country, maintain my streak, but the first day home, I blow it? And it's because I was just out of my routines. I was out of sync with what I normally do. So I say all that just to say it's kind of easy to get off track spiritually, isn't it? It doesn't take much for us to go through something and realize that we're not where we want to be spiritually. And routines, they're not just restrictive. And that's how we tend to think of routines, as something that confines us. But they actually can reinforce healthy habits, and they can give you forward momentum in every area of your life. And so what I want to do in this series, Back on Track, is I want to talk about some things that we can do, some small steps we can take that can create some new routines for us, or maybe reestablish some that we've lost over the summer, and get ourselves back on track. Because the truth is, many of you here today, over the last couple of months, maybe for you it's even been longer, you have lost some things that have helped you to stay on track. So summertime, you travel a little bit, you're gathering with your church family a little less frequently than normal. Maybe you stop serving for the summer. Maybe you haven't been in a B group, so you're feeling kind of disconnected relationally. And those things that you used to do to be on track spiritually just kind of evaporated over the summer. And then there's others of you, the truth is it wasn't the summer that got you off track. You've been off track for a while. And maybe it was because you felt like you got burned by the church, and you kind of equate the church with God, and so you got angry about something, and you allowed that resentment to kind of get in between you and God, and that's gotten you off track. Or maybe there's just something traumatic that happened in your life, and you're having a tough time reconciling the idea of a loving God with what you have experienced, because how could a loving God allow you to go through, whatever it is? And then there are some of you that, I talk about getting off track spiritually, and you're like, I didn't even know there was a track, You're not on track spiritually, and maybe you're here today to learn about what that even means. Like, there's a spiritual side of you, that, but you've kind of neglected it. Wherever you are at on that spectrum, I hope you'll make plans to be here this entire month. We're gonna go through in getting our day back on track. We're gonna start with our morning today, then we're gonna get our day back on track, then we're gonna get our night on track, and then we're gonna conclude by getting our Sundays on track. And my hope, my prayer is that the tools that I'm going to give you, super practical, that the tools that I'm going to give you are going to allow you to not only, get back on track, but to help you to develop a vibrant faith, a faith that makes an impact on how you think all of the time. Not just checking in with God when you come here on Sundays, or not just calling out to him when you're going through some kind of crisis, but actually, staying connected to God throughout your day, throughout your week, in a way that makes a difference for how you're living. And I hope it'll be really helpful for you. And the reason this is so important is because what Jesus told us in John 15, and if you want to track along with me either in the app or in your program, you can do that. We'll also put the verses up here on the screen. And find a pen, because we're going to have some fill-ins as we go through as well. But here's what Jesus said. He said, I'm the vine, you're the branches, and those who remain in me and I in them, they will produce much fruit. And then he says, apart from me, you can do nothing. So we don't want to just check in with God. We want to stay connected to him. We want to remain in him, as he says. So I'm going to give you tools to help you to do that. We saw in the video, it doesn't take much for your day to start badly, does it? It doesn't take much to get a morning off track. The inverse of that is also true, though. It doesn't take much to get your day off to a better start either. And so how do we get our mornings on track? Here's the first fill-in. If you want to get your morning on track, try starting my morning the night before. Try starting my morning the night before. In the Jewish world, the day starts at dusk. It starts at sunset. So it'd be, the Sabbath goes from, for them, Friday, 6 p.m., to Saturday, 6 p.m. That's the Sabbath. So they think of a day as starting actually before they go to bed. It's kind of an interesting concept. So they start their day at the end of the day. That's why in the book of Genesis, which is the book of beginnings, that's what Genesis means, we read this over and over as God goes through the creative process. It says, and evening passed and morning came, marking the first day. Did you ever wonder, why does it go from evening to morning? Because that was how the Jewish day goes. It starts in the evening and goes through the day. That's a day. Now, we don't operate that way, which is good. You don't go to work at 6 p.m. and stay there till 6 a.m., most of you anyway. Some of you work third shift like that. But I think it could be helpful for us to start viewing our days as not just starting when we wake up in the morning, but think of your day as starting like before you go to bed. That's what I want you to start thinking of. I just blew up my screen to be ginormous. I didn't mean to do that. How many of you have been in the military? You've gone through basic training. Let me just see your hands. So a bunch of you. I'm not sure if all basic trainings were done this way or if it was just my unique experience. I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, Army Reserve in 1985 was when I did my basic training. And the way basic training worked for us was from the moment the drill sergeant walked into the barracks yelling at us to rouse us, we had 7 minutes to be outside of the barracks in formation, ready to go for the entire day. 7 minutes. But there was a catch. And the catch was this. We weren't allowed to wear our shoes inside the barracks, and we weren't good enough to use the front door of the barracks. So we had to use the back door. So the way it worked is you actually had 3 minutes to be out of the barracks, use the back door, get outside, get your shoes on, and then run around the barracks and get in formation, ready to go for your entire day. You're going to do your PT, you got all your gear with you, and the barracks is ready for inspection. That means your locker's done, shoes are polished, floors are buffed, latrines are clean, all that stuff. And it only took a couple of mornings. I was only 17 at the time, so you can give me a little bit of grace. It took me a couple of mornings to realize 7 minutes was not enough time to get all of that done. And so what we started to do is we started to get ready the night before. So we'd get all of our gear out, we'd polish our shoes, we'd buff the floors, we'd get our showers because you didn't have time to do that in the morning. And we got everything ready the night before. It was so much that I didn't even sleep under the covers because I didn't have time to make the bed. So I would sleep on top of the bed, and then when the drill sergeant started insulting me in the morning, I would tuck the cover just to get the wrinkle out. But I didn't have to wash those things the entire time of basic training because I never actually got in my bed. And I didn't really think about it at the time, but what I was doing is I was starting my morning the night before. And it actually turned out to be really effective. And I'm not suggesting that you get crazy, like don't sleep on top of your bed. Don't think, like the alarm goes off, I have to be in my car driving in 7 minutes. I'm not saying that at all. I am saying if you want your morning to start out where you're connecting with God and that you're experiencing His presence, if you're gonna do that, you probably need to plan for that to happen. You need to start your day the night before. So here's just a couple of tips on things that you can do to help get you set up for a successful morning. First one is just go to bed on time. And you're an adult, unless you're a student. If you're a student, you go to bed whenever your parents tell you to go to bed. You're welcome, Mom and Dad. But I'm just saying, if you want to, but if you're an adult, you go to bed when you want to go to bed. But if you are saying, I want to meet with God in the morning, then you need to think about that as it relates to when you actually go to bed. Because if you want to meet with God in the morning, that might be more important than binging Stranger Things. Just saying. Or playing Fortnite till 2 a.m. or whatever. Like if that's going to interfere with your first 15 minutes of your day, then maybe you should put those things aside. Because many of you, when I talk to you about your first 15, you're like, the struggle is real because you're so tired. And you're so tired because you're not ending your day on time. Here's another thing, make a plan. Make a plan. The old adage is true. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And chances are pretty good tomorrow morning you're not going to connect with God if you don't have a plan to execute when your alarm goes off. So plan could include like a YouVersion plan. Like what is the verse you're going to meditate on for the day? What is the passage that you're going to read? Do you have all of those things kind of set up and ready to go? How about prayer? What are you going to pray about? And I'm not saying that you complicate it, but having a plan is not necessarily complicating things. It's facilitating things. It's going to make it easier for you. So you wake up knowing what you're going to do. And then you need to get ready. Get ready. So like if you're a tea drinker, coffee drinker, and that's part of your first 15, like you cannot function without that cup of coffee or whatever. And so that's going to be part of your first 15, then you get your coffee pot ready, or you get the Keurig ready, make sure it's filled with water, all that kind of stuff. You put your Bible, the journal, or whatever you're using, you put it next to the coffee pot. You get out your favorite cup. I don't know what it is about my favorite cup, but it helps me to think better when I'm drinking coffee out of that particular cup. So I have that ready. And pick out your clothes the night before so you're not spending 20 minutes looking for jewelry and coordinating shoes and a sweater. And if it sounds like I'm talking about my wife, who asked you? Just saying, might be a good idea. So if you want to get your morning on track, start the night before. Then, when the morning arrives, try talking to God before I do anything else. Try talking to God before I do anything else. Are you saying, Jamie, that I should talk to God before I check my social media feed? Yes, that's what I'm suggesting. Am I suggesting that you talk to God first before you check your news feed? Yes, you definitely should, because talking to God could give you perspective on your news feed. Am I saying that you should talk to God before you talk to your spouse or your kids or your roommate? Yes, yes, yes. Because if you talk to God first, there's a really good chance that how you interact with them is going to be better. You'll be more loving. Maybe you'll be more patient. Maybe you'll say fewer dumb things because you have now talked with God first. So I think it's probably the right thing to do. Now, I know that might sound legalistic, but it's not. What does a follower of Jesus do? Yeah, it wasn't a trick question. That was a very good answer. Follow Jesus. That's what we do. That's what it means to follow Jesus. You do what Jesus did. Well, what did Jesus do? We read about this in Mark 1. It says, very early in the morning, Jesus got up. He went to a place where he could be alone and pray. Now, you might not be able to go to desert your family and go to a quiet place, but you can, put the sheets over your head and pray first before you hit the floor. So he modeled this idea of priority in our relationships. First thing, before he got busy with the disciples, before he performed any miracles, before he confronted the religious leaders, he had a conversation with his Father. And my bet is that one conversation influenced every other conversation that he had throughout his day. Wouldn't you think? It's probably the most important conversation that he had. I don't know about you, but I don't want my news feed setting the tone for my day. I don't want an email or a text from a coworker that came in late the night before. I don't want that to be the thing that kind of sets the direction for my day, that interaction there. I definitely don't want my social media feed influencing the direction of my day. I want God to set the tone. And for the record, some of you here, in fact, let me ask, how many of you are morning people? Let me just see your hands. You're a morning person. Okay, how many of you are night owls? Let me see your hands. All right, then the last group, because there's some that haven't raised their hand yet. How many of you are pretty much useless all day long? Let me see your hands. Okay, yeah, I figured that. So here's what I'm saying. If you're not a morning person, I'm not saying, like, if you're thinking, there's no way I'm getting up even 15 minutes earlier to pray and read the Bible, like that would be impossible for me. And if you're wired that way, it would be hard. So I'm not saying that you have to become a morning person. You don't have to do your first 15 first. You can do your first 15 in the middle of your day, end of your day. It doesn't really matter when you do it, so long as you have a time in your day. It's better if it's consistently the same time because you're more likely to do it. But to have a time where you read God's word, reflect on what it's saying and how you apply that to your life, and you spend some time in prayer. But remember the verse, what Jesus said in John 15, we're not just checking in with God from time to time. We want to remain in him. So if you want to remain in him, even if you're not a morning person, you're going to start your day with a conversation with God because that's the most important conversation that you could have. So what do you talk about when you pray? If your first conversation is with God, what do you talk about? Here's what I do, and I usually actually do this the night before, but sometimes in the morning as well. I will look at my calendar for the next day, and I look at, because if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't happen, so my calendar is usually pretty full with just about every appointment that I have, it gets calendared, otherwise I'm not going to have it. So I look at it, and I see who I'm going to be meeting with, and I think about what it is that I'm going to be talking with them about, and I start praying for that person, and I start praying for that conversation. If there's a day where I'm just kind of going all day long, and I know I'm going to be exhausted at the end of the day because interacting exhausts me, I will pray for strength. If I see something on my calendar that I know is going to have me kind of stressed out, then I will pray for God's peace. And so, using your calendar as a guide for your prayer time is actually a pretty good thing to do. And even if you're unsure about God, like some of you are thinking, you're only talking to people who are actually following Jesus. No, you're here to learn about this Jesus thing. And I would encourage you to implement these practices as well. And what I think will happen is you will begin to encounter and experience God's presence in ways that you never have before. So just try it. Like, try praying through your day. Or have your prayer be, God, if you're there, show yourself to me today. But get it on your radar first thing in the morning so that you're thinking about these things. And James, the half-brother of Jesus, early leader in the church in Jerusalem, he had this great promise, and we're going to look at this verse every single week of this series, and it's this. James said, if you come close to God, God will come close to you. If you take a step in God's direction, God comes in your direction. Now, God's always there. He's omnipresent. He's everywhere present all of the time. So I don't think it means that he just like all of a sudden shows up, but I do think it means he reveals himself more. So you step in his direction and he comes in your direction. How great is that? So let's get our mornings on track. We're going to start our mornings the night before, go to bed on time, make a plan, get ready. Then we're going to start our day having a conversation with God, and then we're going to get our mornings on track, getting the worst part of our day, or our morning at least, on track, and that is this: looking for God in my commute. In my commute. I know, I heard that. Yeah, the commute's awful for some of you. Mine's 5 miles long. It's really not that bad. There's several red lights. That's my biggest gripe. But other than that, it's really not bad. But how do you look for God in your commute? Well, first of all, God is not in the fast lane moving slow. That's not God. So if you're looking for God in your commute, that is someone else. That is not God over there in the left-hand lane going too slow. But you can look for God in your commute. And the baseline for this, we actually sang about it earlier, is from the Psalm 118, verse 24. It says this, and let's read this with, I love my commute enthusiasm. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. Verse is up there. Let's put the verse up there. Okay, let's read it together. This day belongs to the Lord. Let's celebrate and be glad today. So this day belongs to the Lord. That includes your commute. This commute belongs to the Lord. Well, I'm going to celebrate on my commute and be glad today. That's asking a lot, but you could read that verse and pray that as a prayer, and then get in your car and start your commute and look for God as you commute. So what can you do to look for God in your commute? Well, I don't know. Maybe you could listen to worship music. Believers has a Spotify list, all the songs that we use on Sundays. You can go to Spotify and just listen to that, and it'll get you thinking about God as you go into your day. Maybe you listen to a podcast, or you podcast one of our messages to kind of reinforce it so it digs a little bit deeper into your life, and you can use that in your commute time. Or you can look at your fellow commuter. Have you ever just kind of looked over at commuters? They look as miserable as you feel, right? They do. And I'm not saying you glare at them. I'm not saying that. I'm saying just glance in their direction and then pray for them. They probably need prayer just like you do. So, you're kind of looking for God in your community. True story. I wasn't going to tell this, but it just happened a couple days ago. Bonnie and I we were headed to go pick up my brother so we could go to New York for my mom's interment. And we were down by Indian River Road, and traffic was pretty bad. And there was this car in the right-hand lane, and just out of the blue, he shot over 2 lanes right in front of me, cut me off, got over here in the lane to my left. I'd already written this message, so I'm thinking, pray for the commuters. They need prayer too. And so as I pull up alongside him, I fully expected him to give me the courtesy wave, like, oh, my bad, But instead, he flipped me off. I was like, I didn't even do anything. I was just, anyway, I prayed for him, kinda. So we're gonna get our mornings back on track. That's what we're gonna do. Small adjustments to our morning routine so that we can connect with Jesus. And when we do that, if we can get our morning on track, it's gonna propel us forward in our spiritual journey. Maybe you're here and you'd say, you know what, spiritually, you haven't gotten on track. You've not really ever been on track. And if that's you, I would encourage you, just implement the stuff that I'm talking about right now. Even if you're unsure, And see if God doesn't show up when you create space for him to show up in your life. I think it could change some things for you. Remember, if you step in his direction, he'll come in yours. Or perhaps you're here and you would say, I've never really been back on track. I've never been on track spiritually. But I really want to go through my day with Jesus. And I never realized that God loved me enough that he actually wants to go through my day with me. And you're ready to just pray and acknowledge that you need God in your life. You're going to pray and say, God, thank you that you sent Jesus, because Jesus came to pay for your sin so that he could be in relationship with you. And you're going to pray in just a few moments. I'll give you an opportunity to pray, to begin a relationship with him, to follow him. And that would be awesome. For others of you, maybe you want to look at the back of the communication card and you just want to see some of the next steps that you're going to take, like looking for God on my commute, as hard as that is to imagine, he's there. And then maybe for you, it's that first conversation that you're going to have, and you just need to recommit to that. My guess is many of you who call Believers home, if you were honest, you would say, either you've gotten off track or your routine has become rote, and you just need to experience God in fresh, new ways. And I would hope that you would be able to take some of these next steps and that they would revitalize your faith. I'm going to pray over our next step. So whatever next step you're going to take, you can indicate that there on the card. Any prayer requests, you can write those there as well. And then I'm going to pray for the offering too. And this is a time for those who call Believers home. We return a portion of what God has blessed us with as a way to declare our faith in him, that he can provide for us, as a way to declare our gratefulness for the things that he's provided for us. And so if you call Believers home, you can go ahead and get ready for that. There's a giving envelope inside your program that you can use. Or, of course, you can text to give. There's instructions right there at the back of the program that talk about what you can do to set up the text to give or online giving. And it's a very safe and secure thing to do. We use PushPay for that. And so it'll walk you through that. So next steps, the offering. When I pray, after I'm done praying, some buckets are going to come through the room, and you can just take the communication card and drop that in the bucket, and take the giving envelope and drop that in as well, and then you can just pass it down the row. Someone will get it from the last person on your row. Let's pray together. Father God, we love you. We're very grateful for your love for us, and we come before you right now acknowledging that we need you. And so we pause. And while our heads are bowed and no one's looking around, why don't you ask yourself this question before God, not before me, but before him. Have you gotten off track spiritually? And if the answer to that is yes, then why don't you pray to God and just say, God, I'm going to give you my morning. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to just give you my morning. I'm going to get my morning on track. And just talk to him about what that looks like. And you can leave here today and start getting ready for a new day tomorrow. If you're here and you would say, you know what, I've not been on track, but I'm ready to follow Jesus, then why don't you pray with me? And you can just check that block on the communication card, letting me know that you've prayed with me, and I will send you some resources that will help you to better understand what it means to follow Jesus, to go with him through your day. And so if that's you, just pray. Say, Father, thank you that you love me. You love me enough to want me to remain in you. That's what you said. And so I come to you now, and I commit myself to following you, thanking you that Jesus came to make it possible for me to be in relationship with you. So I receive the forgiveness of my sins that he provides, and I commit myself to following you. And then, Father, I'm grateful to be able to gather here with my church family, and I pray that as we reflect on how you've provided for us and how good you have been to us, that collectively we would share that blessing with our community, with our global partners, by returning just a portion of what you've blessed us with back to you now. We love you. We ask your blessing on those who give, on the dollars that are given, that they would be used to accomplish great good. We commit this time to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Good morning. My name is Rhonda Perrin, and most of you have known me as the Believers Kids Director. But with some exciting changes to our staff, my role is now the Next Gen Director. Why? Because rather than a singular focus, Believers Kids, For Real, and young adult teams are uniting efforts to equip every child, student, young adult, and parent to make Jesus number one in every phase of life. From preparing babies to be toddlers, 5th graders to be middle schoolers, 8th graders to be freshmen, college seniors to graduate, and everything in between. So let's take a minute to meet our Next Gen leaders.
Hi friends, my name is Deborah Poole and I'm the preschool director. I have the privilege of leading the team that serves families with kids ranging from birth to 5 years old. I'm so excited to partner with you as you journey down the road to raising spiritually healthy kids that understand that God made them, God loves them, and that Jesus wants to be their friend forever.
Hi, my name is Kelly Cahoon, and I'm the new kid on the block. I recently joined Believers staff as the Elementary and Special Needs Director. I oversee families with kindergarten through 5th graders, our Champions Club ministry for kids with special needs and disabilities, and our adaptive worship experience for teens and adults. This unique worship experience meets in the gathering room during our 11 a.m. service. Come and check us out.
Hey everybody, my name is Doug Vance and I'm one of the teaching pastors here, and I have the privilege of overseeing students 6th through 12th grade as well as the young adults. For Real students meet every Wednesday night from 6:30 to 8:30, and I'm really excited to introduce our brand new young adult ministry. We're kicking off on October the 8th, meeting every Tuesday from 7 o'clock to 8:30. If you're between the ages of 18 to 30-something, we'd love to have you come and join us.
Our Next Gen teams are gearing up for a packed fall, and we've got several openings for small group leaders throughout all of these age groups. If you have a heart for Jesus, kids, students, young adults, or kids and students requiring some extra assistance, you can sign up online at www.believerschurch.org. Select the Connect tab, Impact Teams, and fill out the Serving Interest form. For more information, you can just stop by the Next Gen kiosk to connect with one of our leaders as you leave today.
Hey everybody, my name is Heather, and I'm so glad that you've been a part of Sunday worship with us today. Why don't we give it up for our Next Gen team? Those people are awesome. And I know several of you are already serving on the Next Gen Impact teams, but if you need a place to serve starting this fall, they sure would love to have you join them. So you can stop by that kiosk that Rhonda mentioned that's out in the Commons today to get some more information about that, or just what Next Gen is all about. They would love to chat with you about that. We also have a space for you to stop by if you need some prayer this morning. So if you have something going on in your life and you just want to talk to somebody and get some prayer partnership around that, you can head out the auditorium, go to your left, and on the left-hand side, you're going to see the Nansman room, and there are some prayer warriors in there that are just waiting for that opportunity to pray with you today. And finally, if you are a guest with us this morning and you didn't get a chance to swing by that blue tent before you came in, make sure you do that on the way back to your car. We have a book we want to get in your hands and some information about Believers. And with that, I'm going to invite you to stand, say hello to some people you don't know, and then bring some friends back with you next week. We'll see you next Sunday, everybody. Have a great week.